Yo guys, Ponchy here, and today I wanted to show you how to use fill mode on the analog rhythm. It had come to my attention recently that I hadn't done a video on this yet, so I wanted to make sure that we go over it. I may have included a little bit about it in my trig conditions video, but figured we should go over it a little bit. So anyway, I have this beat that I made here. Just something super simple. I'm using one of the kits that I got off a sound pack that I got from Elektron's website. It's definitely a pretty cool sounding kit. So anyway, say I want to add quite literally a drum fill to this beat, except I don't want the drum fill to play every single time, and I want to trigger the drum fill at will. And maybe I want to trigger it in a way that I don't want to have to hold a button down or something like that. So there's a couple different ways to look at fills. So over here, of course, is the fill button. So you can hold the fill button down and that will play a fill, or you can press function and fill and that will cue the fill, so that way it'll play it the next time around. So here's what it sounds like if we press, or if we hold fill. And then we let it go and goes back to the normal beat. Say if we want to trigger half of the fill, you just press it, you know, in the last half of the fill. Okay, so if I want to trigger a fill to play the next time around, just press function and fill. You'll see it flash, plays the fill, and then it goes back to not playing the fill. So how do we get that set up, you ask? So for one, I'm going to go ahead and copy this beat over to pattern 3, paste. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this tom fill that I have. So now we're back to just the clean beat. There's absolutely no fill, except for that snare drum that I removed out of there. I'll show you how to do that. I guess let's take a look at that first. So there's two different kinds of fill trig conditions. So hold down the trig that you want to add the fill to, go over to trig conditions, and you'll see that this is fill with the line over it. So what that means is when you press the fill button, it's not going to play that note. So it's kind of an opposite effect. Whereas with the toms, what we're going to want to do is set that to regular fill with no line above it. So let's do that now. So the way I really like to input trigs is just to play them in live mode. But of course you can just add them, you know, by hand manually like that. But I'm going to go ahead and add it in manually to give me that feel, that human feel. Let's go ahead and do that over again. There we go. A little bit more on time. Changed up the fill a little bit. So anyway, next thing you want to do is, of course, we have these trigs recorded here. So I'm going to hold these down, go over to the trig condition, and I want to put those, set those to fill. Okay. Do that with the next tom. Set those to fill, and then the last two fill. Okay, so when we play it, there's your regular beat. And there you have it. You want to cue up the fill for the next time around. So the reason I set that snare drum to no fill is because, you know, I'm thinking in terms of being a drummer. I come from a drum background, so if I'm a drummer and I'm going to go to do a tom fill or something, I'm probably not going to play that snare, you know, while I'm doing the toms. So that's just kind of, you know, something that you think about when you're a drummer. If you're not a drummer, you know, that's totally fine. But, you know, sometimes it's good to think of beats, you know, and this is just kind of a taste thing. Sometimes it's good to think of beats in terms of like what you can actually play with your 4 limbs at once, instead of, you know, as opposed to thinking in terms of, you know, maybe filling up the space as much as possible. So, you know, those are just 2 different schools of thought. Whichever one you go with is totally up to you. That's just kind of an aside. Just wanted to kind of tell you guys my thought process in terms of, you know, how I record my beats and stuff like that, and how I think of fills. So that should be it for today. Hope that helps you guys. Feel free to leave any comments down below, and I will see you in the next one.